Now to Ukraine, and Volodymyr Zelensky's term in office would be ending today if Russia had not invaded. Elections have been suspended while martial law is in force, but Russia's been trying to undermine popular support for the Ukrainian president by running a social media campaign for fresh elections.
The outbreak of war, February 2022. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, a former comedian with no previous political experience before becoming president, thrust into the role of wartime leader. A nation in shock warmed quickly to his leadership. My dear Ukrainians, I am again talking to you just like I promised. I will provide you with updated and verified information every hour. His approval rating shot up to 90%, far above its pre-war peak. 2 years on, however, many here are fed up. A year ago, there were hopes for a counter-offensive that would drive Russia out of Ukraine. But now there's no end to the war in sight. Tens of thousands of soldiers have died, and the front line barely moved until recent Russian advances. The government has passed an unpopular conscription law to get more recruits. All that has cost the government credibility. Zelenskyy's approval rating slipped to about 69% in the latest reputable poll from February of this year, significantly higher than leaders in the US, France, and Germany, but a worrying sign for the government. No elections can legally happen until martial law ends, but Russia has allegedly seized on the fact that Zelenskyy's term would be over this month to mount a social media campaign, like with these social media memes. This one says, "Traitors Zelenskyy and Poroshenko in jail, we demand elections." And this one, 90% of people are against you running for a second term. Zelenskyy is portrayed as being confused, asking who is against him. Things are not necessarily so bleak for Zelenskyy, though. A recent poll cited by BBC's Ukraine service found 70% of Ukrainians don't want elections while the war is going on, despite Russian propaganda efforts. DW spoke to people in the capital, Kyiv, about it and found mixed feelings. We have the enemy on our doorstep. Holding elections is going to cause division.
I don't want elections right now because of the war. I'm happy with our president and don't have anything to criticize him for right now. It's just not the right time for elections.
I believe it's wrong to forbid the people to have their say, even during wartime. There are so many people fighting in the front lines, it just wouldn't be possible physically.
If we have elections, it will cost a lot of money. Money that we don't have for drones and ammunition.
So far, there's been no push from ordinary Ukrainians or official pressure from Ukraine's allies or even the political opposition to hold a new vote. So Zelenskyy seems secure in his job for now. But that might change without signs of tangible progress in a war that might drag on for years to come.
Well, Yevheniia Kravchuk is a member of the Ukrainian parliament for President Zelensky's Servant of the People party. Welcome to DW. So what is the reasoning behind not holding any elections now that President Zelensky's 5-year term has ended?
Well, of course, the main reason is the legal reason, because under the legislation on martial law, no elections can be held. And right now we have martial law on the whole territory of Ukraine. It's not just because we have more than 1,000 mile or kilometers long the front line, the fighting line, actually, but also the constant missile attack on the whole territory of Ukraine, but also the millions of people who are abroad, and the organization of this process, even abroad, is impossible due to these huge numbers. So all of it comes also to the Constitution. The Constitution, the Article 108, clearly states that the president, the current president, is acting before the inauguration of the next president, or if the same one is elected, comes. And so basically, it shows that it can't be, it has to prolong until the elections.
Until the end of martial law. Is the retention of martial law backed by the whole of Parliament? Are there MPs who believe that democracy trumps an invasion?
We have a consensus among the political parties, and actually the political parties that are in the parliament signed a document saying, a memorandum, right, saying that no elections can be organized before the end of the full-scale war. And it concerns not just the president, but also parliament elections. It will be 5 years of parliament term in this August, in 2024. So it is a consensus. And you clearly showed these campaigns, that false disinformation campaigns coming from Russia. Even if they are in Ukrainian language, it's clearly the disinformation from Russia. And the aim is very clear. Russians want to undermine the unity, to break the resilience. And they couldn't do it in 2022. Now they're using this, trying to show that there are some tensions among the Ukrainians. But Ukrainians in the social polls say that the elections cannot be organized and should not be organized during the war. So all elections should be organized after the end of the war.
Thank you for joining us, Ukrainian lawmaker Yevheniia Kravchuk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's look at this with Rudik, who is a member of the Ukrainian parliament and leader of the opposition Holos party. Welcome back to DW. I was speaking to a Ukrainian lawmaker from President Zelensky's party a little earlier today, and she told me there was consensus amongst the political parties backing martial law at the moment and therefore precluding elections. I thought it might be useful to just check what with an opposition lawmaker like yourself.
Hello, Phil. Thank you so much for having me. Well, it is indeed true. We have a consensus to put our political ambitions aside and concentrate on one of the most important goals for our country, to win the war. And this is what we have been doing since the day one of the full-scale invasion. And I think we've been pretty successful in remaining united throughout political forces in Ukraine, because there is something bigger than us, bigger than our political aims, to keep the country united and to ensure that we physically survive and win in this in the war that is really historic one.
But isn't democracy bigger than all of that? Britain and the United States both held elections during the Second World War.
I agree with you that the democracy is the most important, and this is why we are, as a democratic country, we are obeying to the major law that is in our constitution, which is a democratic constitution, and it clearly says no elections during the wartime. And Phil, even if we wanted to do it, I honestly cannot imagine how we would do the elections during the wartime. First and foremost, given that we have a major amount of people fighting at the front, and I think it's the most important and the most fair to allow them to exercise on their democratic right, not only to elect, but also to be elected. And until we have no way of doing it, of allowing them to exercise this right, there could not be even a talk about the democratic elections.
And how, therefore, do you counter Russian claims that President Zelensky lacks democratic legitimacy, given that there has been no election in your country for 5 years?
Well, first of all, we know that this is a part of Russian propaganda to attack our unity and ability to operate as a state. And second, it's very easy for me because I voted for the martial law at the first day of the full-scale invasion, where it is clearly saying that there are no elections during the wartime and the president is sitting until the next elections are being held. So we know what we have done, and we know that it is for the best of our country. So as a parliamentary presidential republic, we continue to operate as the democracy according to the rules.
Thank you so much for talking us through that so clearly. Ukrainian lawmaker Rudik.
Thank you, and glory to Ukraine.